Hello, it's me, and I thought I would go through a demonstration of one of the newest addition to my mod family. This is Claus Wenicker's triumphant creation. This is the 4-layer dodecahedron. Now, when I was assembling this, I had a video where I actually assembled it, stickered it, and all that good stuff. This is different from the rhombic dodecahedron, and of course different from the 4-layer face-turning dodecahedron. So here's an example of what I mean. Here's your classic face turning. The master Kilominx. This is actually the Shapeways version. Turns on the face turning. This is something that slices down with the side that matches a 4x4 side, and this is the rhombic dodecahedron, which is the same kind of thing, only does not shapeshift. So these are the different 4-layer dodecahedrons, or examples of some of them. Of course, there's also the 4-layer hexagonal dipyramid. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is another shapeshifter over here, just has a different unique shape. Now, the technique of solving is actually pretty similar across these different dodecahedrons. But there are some important differences, and you may think, well, why get this if it's just another 4-layer mod, solved like a 4-layer supercube? So here's the characteristics with these. This is very different from the 4-layer supercubes, as it's a true face-turning dodecahedron with that organization. It doesn't shapeshift. You have to reduce it, and then you can solve it using similar cubic strategies, but with modifications to 5 sides instead of 4. With this guy over here, similarly, it doesn't shapeshift, but we have to bear in mind, because the actual face is different from the colored face over here, what's defined as our centers is cube-like. So we have 4 centers here as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 center pieces over here. Which means that as we're reducing our centers, we have to look at the association between one center to another. And it's pretty easy to see. This will lead directly to this piece, to this piece, to this piece. So too with this center, as you're solving it, because it's not exactly a face turner, although we are turning this face, we're slicing into the other faces over here. So too, it's pretty easy to see which centers go where, and as soon as you put the center in, you can kind of correlate it by correlating what the next center is based upon a shared color over here. Well, this one I find to be even more challenging because, well, the centers don't really guide you from one to the next. You've got these two over here. Now there is one specific color pattern that goes with this center, but you're not going to know it unless you use the edges to decide. And once you put this in, being 4-layer, I could put the center here and the center here if I'm not careful, but I have to decide what's supposed to go here, and I can't use the previous center to guide me. So yeah, it is a little bit different of a challenge. So I'm just going to kind of go through and see some of the pitfalls. Plus, being a 4-layer, being even, it's got all the parities associated with it. So I'm just going to show you the motion with this here. With something like this, I don't need to do any 180-degree scrambles first, because this functions really just like a 4x4, so it moves in all directions. Claus's design is, like I say, pretty incredible. You know, it's a modification, and these are extensions that are glued onto the base cube. So there's a potential bit of snagging that can happen. And you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you have a bad 4x4 that's unstable, then that's gonna end up being your problem much of the time. If you have extensions that are cumbersome or snag onto each other, then that's going to be a problem. This is a very good blend of smoothness. I've done 0 lubricating of this puzzle, hasn't really needed it. So, to keep with tradition, I will continue to scramble this until it looks much more scary. Abracadabra. Okay, now we've got ourselves a ball game here. I'm going to do this in the context of a broader series where I show different higher layer modifications, because I've had some questions as more people are designing supercubes, large layer, 5, 6, 7, even 8-layer supercubes. I'm getting more questions regarding how to deal with the last 2 centers. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up and do a series of videos where I'm going to show you examples of higher layer modifications of interesting shapes. So even if you don't have that puzzle, I think you'd be interested to see what kind of puzzles there are that are out there, because again, that's what we want, right? More puzzles. So looking at this over here, now bear in mind there's always a process of breaking in, and because, as you've seen potentially with with the puzzles when I was doing the assembly, these are pretty much glued on. And from time to time, if I didn't glue it on quite right, pieces will fall out, and if they do, they're just re-glued back on, so that's not a big problem. So we're going to start off the way that I start off any 4-layer supercube, with reduction. I'm going to reduce this to a 3-layer dodecahedron. The only thing that I know that I can do at this point is I can just start matching up pairs with each other, 1 by 2 bars. So let's see if I can easily do that. I notice the silver's here and the silver's here, so I'm just going to move this down here. Now what goes to the other side here? I don't have any clues to guide me in the center with this particular puzzle. With here, I did. I had the colors on both sides. Here they're pretty much all of the same color, and here, well, there's no supercube aspect about this. Here, I don't. So that's what adds a little bit more of an intrigue to this puzzle. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to find the edge piece that has this color to it and see what center color it shares with it. So here's what I mean. Somewhere along here, there's going to be these edge pieces that have a dominant color and a non-dominant color. You can see that the non-dominant color binds to this area here, fits nicely. And then the other edge piece of the same dominant color will guide me as to what is the next centerpiece. So here's what I mean. Now I could look over here. You can see this is a dominant color over here, which binds to this area down over here. So if I were to, say, go splat and clunk, with this over here, I know the color of this next center, but I have not completed this center yet. So this is what's going to guide me. So if I were to put this in place, and I'm just going to guide this around here and bring this into here. Okay, this actually goes on the other side here. But I think you get what I'm doing. I think you understand where I'm coming from. So looking at this over here, I can see that it's the blue edge piece. This is the dominant blue edge piece. So the other blue that goes next to it is going to guide me as to what color is supposed to be here. I just so happen to have it over here. So if I were to move this in place, what I would find, and I'm not going to do any reduction right now, but this is just to demonstrate, it's going to be purple. It's actually going to be this one. So knowing that this silver is shared by this blue, the next blue had purple, so it's going to be the purple one. So now I know what this entire side is going to look like. So I'm going to match all my purples up, turn this over here, turn this over here, move this down. And then what I have is I have my first center just based upon that. So, bang. Okay, now the question is what comes next? Well, I can actually see. First off, because this was blue, it just makes sense that I can piggyback on that and say blue comes over here. I also see that this is yellow, so I know yellow is going to come over here too. But I'm going to keep with my theme here, knowing that blue is over here. Now notice this dominant side, dominant color is going to bind with this edge over here, not the sloped. So I know that this center, when it's blue, has to come in like this to match in with that. So we're going to find the blues and put it in. So here's a blue here, blue over here. Match it up. And now I'm just going to put it in. Didn't really have to be there, but just for the sake of illustration. Okay, now I can even check my work here. Well, I know that the blue and the purple match up. So now what comes next over here? Well, I'm going to use the same technique. So I'm looking for the small, non-dominant blue, and that is right over here. And I can see that it's green. So just for illustrative purposes, let's put this into position here. And again, you don't have to take these steps necessarily, but just for the purposes of illustration. Okay, here's the blue over here, so I'm going to move this in like so, and move this over here. Okay, so now I know it's green. It's the green that matches up, so the other light green is going to be here. What is the other light green? So what's fun about this puzzle is it adds that little extra cognitive step, and you can get messed up sometimes. Here's a green and it's orange. Now, I'm not going to move that in because I think you get the point, but I see that it's orange that's going to end up over here next to the green. So orange is next. Here's an orange here. Move this like so. Bring this in. Turn. Bring it back. And we'll just move this orange in. Okay, so I know that these two centers are correct, and I'm just going to wheel around exactly the same way. So it's supposed to go over here. Well, let's see what the little blue, on the one side, I see the blue and green. So you can actually move it over here. So we might as well keep piggybacking on that. So I know that green is supposed to be here, the light green. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's green here. Turn, turn. Turn. And this is going to wheel its way up to here. Now again, I'm testing this puzzle out as much as I am solving this puzzle, because if any pieces come out, well, I know that I didn't super glue them in quite right, so I'll just put it back in. And that's happened a few times, but each time it gets stronger and more robust. And turn. Okay. So far, so good. Now I can check my work a little bit, because there's a correlation here. How about here? Silver and green, light green. And as you can see, this works, because here's the dominant silver, which is going to end up down here, and the green, which if I turn it down here, will match up to this. So we're good. Now I need to find what the other dominant silver piece is to go to this over here. So the other silver side here, that's pink. So pink goes here. Go ahead and reorient these things a little bit. Turn. Turn, turn. Now, I'll tell you, it's easy to get messed up. As straightforward as this seems, if you lose concentration, you can get messed up. And turn, and now this is going to occupy this slot over here, this pink. So we turn it. So this is really taking the concepts that you learned from cubes and supercubes and kind of taking it one level further. Turn over here. And actually, it's going to be oriented like this. Okay, so as we're wrapping around, we're going to try this over here. So what is the dominant pink side in association with? Light blue over here, light blue. So I know it's going to be these guys. So why don't we go ahead and match light blues up, all the while keeping track of what the heck we're doing. Turn, turn, and turn. Not the usual shape-way sound, is it? So we're going to move this in, turn, double turn, and up we go. Okay, and this is going to actually be oriented like this. All right, so the pink is going to end up over here. Now I can look at the pink side and see what the other pink is, and that'll tell me what the other color is over here. So dominant pink, well, right over here, it's going to be yellow. So yellow is going to be in here. I already have one yellow in, I just have to get the other one. So it's going to be this piece moving to here. So I'm going to move this in here with an RI FI L F R FI LI. Now that was not an algorithm I had memorized. What I was doing as I was doing it. After a while you'll be able to do that too. Okay, so now to check my work, if I were to orient it like this, I should have a dominant yellow with a non-dominant gray. So what are my yellows? Gray, perfect. And I should have another one that's purple. And purple. So all is right with the world, and we are down to the last two centers. Now here's my question. On this particular puzzle, those that have been following my techniques and tutorials understand that when you're doing 4-layer mods, there's a particular situation where you might end up with centers rotated 90 degrees off of where they're supposed to be. And my question is, with this puzzle, is that possible? Is it possible to have that happen and not know it? Because as you've seen with certain 4-layer modifications, you'll end up with a kind of a parity situation where the corners don't make any sense. And that at this point we have to stop, orient the corners to see how we're going to orient the centers. Now the question that I have is this that kind of a puzzle? Do I have to worry about that? And the answer is, the way to tell that is, the typical example of that is like this one. This is the 4-layer Megamorphinx by Trepum. And this actually does display that characteristic. This rhombic dodecahedron does not display that characteristics. In other words, it is possible for me to accidentally put this in 90 degrees off of where it's supposed to be, which is impossible for me to solve with because I can't rotate 190 degrees. The reason why I did that is because there's equivalency of centers. When you see equivalency here, if I were to swap these two, I would have to rotate this 90 degrees. But I would know it because they're equivalent. So I'd go on solving it, only to find at the end I have what appears to be an impossible parity. 2 corners in, 2 corners out, and there's nothing I can do about it. It has nothing to do with the edges, it has to do with the centers. So in order to rotate this 90 degrees, I'd have to swap one of these two. With here, there's no equivalencies of centers. All of these are exactly, all of these are different from the rest. And because of that, it's impossible to do that kind of a swap. Well, it's not impossible, I could do it, but I'd know it's the wrong center. In this puzzle here, it's the same situation. If I were to put it in, if I were to swap things wrong, if I had it like this, I would know that I did the center wrong. So this has a very specific orientation of its centers, which means I'm not going to be led astray. So that happens with this puzzle, doesn't happen with this puzzle. In terms of this guy here, same kind of thing. But this guy over here, my suspicion is I don't have to worry about that. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to stop here with the last 2 centers and put my corners in and see where they have to be oriented. All I need to know is what colors are supposed to be where. To those of you who are struggling with 4-layer mods or making 4-layer mods, then you know what I'm talking about. To those who don't, it's kind of an interesting characteristic of 4-layer modifications that you might come across from time to time. So what goes over here? Well, let's see. We've got purple, and this purple, if we were to hold it here, will bind to the green. So this side here has green. All right, so green is supposed to be up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorient things here. I'm going to take this out of commission, turn, and I'm just focusing on the green side right now. I'm just focusing on one side and seeing where things shape out with the other side. This comes over here, move this down, turn, and turn. Okay. All right, so this is making sense because this is supposed to go on this side over here. So the way that this is going to be oriented, I think, is this is going to be turned over here. And at some point, this purple one is going to come into here to match up with this over here. This white one is supposed to be down here, like this, and that'll match up with the green on the other side. So, aha! Makes sense. Okay, so what comes next? Well, if this purple is here, what's the other color that's here? What's the other purple? The other dominant purple. Finding that, we have red. So red is the odd one out. Red is the next one to be put in. So what I'm going to do is just move this up like so. And then we turn, and then we bring it down. Okay. So this is the correct configuration for this center. Looking at this center here, you can see that this has no choice but to be what it is. Now, I know that this is wrong. I know this is wrong because, well, it's got to be swapped. These two have to be swapped. So I wouldn't continue because I can tell by the shape. So I'm freed from that particular potential parity. In order to swap these, to turn these around, I have to rotate another one by 90 degrees. So I'll do one swap and then a 90-degree turn with another, which is fine. That's not going to be an issue. The technique that I have to do that is I'm going to hold it to where the two that have to swap, one is above, one is below, all on the right side. This is a typical 4-layer supercube technique. This will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. And ultimately, this whole thing is going to rotate by 90 degrees, which will be fine because it's going to end up like this, basically. Which means that this probably was put in 90 degrees off, and now I can figure that out because it was here, because this is rotated wrong. If this, I happen to put all of these in completely right in conjunction with each other, I wouldn't get this configuration. This configuration is a signal, it's a flag. It tells me that one of these sides I put in 90 degrees off from the other sides. So it's a good thing. Anyway, so the first one is going to take this and basically bring it down here. Then I'm going to put that into that slot. And that algorithm is going to be R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI L, and then this moves back to a U. So that's what happened. This is brought down here. What I'm now going to do is this is going to come into this slot. And understand this piece here, this green piece here, is shifted over here. What I'm going to do is move this over to here, and then move this up back to here so that two things can happen. This will shimmy over here to match this piece, and this piece will now occupy this slot, and this will come over here. So same algorithm, R, UI, RI, or LI rather, U, RI, UI, L. And then do UI over here. Okay, so you can see this shimmied over here and came to this slot here. This one occupied that slot over there. And now just one more application of this algorithm will do what it's got to do. Because now you can see this has to slide over here. This will come over here where it used to be over here. So the overall effect is a 90-degree rotation. And now this will come into this slot to be tucked in nicely over here. So we have R, UI, LI, U, RI, LI, or UIL, whatever, something like that. Okay, so the end result is everything is in, and I need not worry about positioning because the shape of this puzzle described the positioning and the way it was supposed to be. In this case, I would have had equivalencies, so I could not rely upon the color, the shape, or the orientation to guide me so that I know that everything is in fine. So to make up for all of the mental gymnastics of deciding where the centers are supposed to be, I don't have that 4-layer issue. Now, the next part is pretty much edge reduction, which is like the edge reduction that you've seen me do so many times in different puzzles. So this needs to come down to here, where this is the sacrificial lamb. This is brought down here. We got that in there. Turn it to the side, bump it out of the way to be replaced by this, move it in, and bring it up. Now this has fastly become one of my favorite 4-layer puzzles. What I like about 4-layer puzzles is you have all the challenges of an even layer puzzle, both out the rigors and tedium of reduction. There's a point at which you have to, use your reasoning and use your problem-solving skills to try to work through problems, and then there's just plain old assembly. So as you add on layers, the good thing about 4-layer is really by the time just about the time you're ready to be done with a step, you're done with the step, as opposed to continuing. These as the last two edges. So we're going to set them up similarly. So 2 algorithms, I'll be able to put in 4 edges. This will come here, this will come here. I don't have to worry about orientation because there's only one way it's going to go. This moves down to across to here. R, FI, U, RI, F, and swing it on back. Okay, so now pretty quickly we've turned this into a 3-layer dodecahedron. And what I'm going to do is, I already see this over here, is I'm going to start putting in these centers, lining them up as much as I can. So you can see this is going to come up to here, and this actually belongs here with silver and purple, but it's at the wrong side. So I can turn this upside down like so, and bring this in over here to match these, and then turn it up here. Because this is the dominant color, I'm going to turn it to where it has a sloping edge over here, portion over here rather, turn it in, and you've got this over here. Okay, now what I'm looking for is, let's do the blue next, because we can visualize that easier. It's here. I'm going to match these 2 colors up with this center, bring it up here. That's the wrong side. Double turn, bring it up here, and now last this over here. So we've got these. So I'm doing the cross in the beginner's method. So now I'm looking for the small, the non-dominant orange and blue, light blue, and right over here. So this comes with a green here, and I can just plop that into there. Now I find the other one. There's actually 2 that has this configuration with different colors. And that's going to be right here. And you can see the pink. So I'm going to move it down like so, turn it here, so this matches up. This I have to put back up here, and then just double turn. All right, so there is my cross. And that was the techniques used for this particular puzzle. Now I need to find the green, blue, and white. Green, blue, and white. Right over here. Looks like this is a good contender. So put this in the way you do normal corners. You can see that this is okay. And turn. Okay, so we have, once again, back our first layer. And now we just have to get the edges. Okay, this comes down here. UR, UIRI. UIFI, UF. Easy to remember, easy to memorize. That's what I like about the beginner's method. This goes down here. Boom, bang, pow, smash, clunk, clink, ugh, split. Oh, look what I did. Well, we'll pretend I didn't do that. I think I made the wrong sound effects anyway. Turn, turn, how's that one? Plink, clink, clunk, splat. There we go. Okay, so middle layer. Now, the last layer is the payoff layer, the challenge layer, the reason why we explore this. So center reduction is oftentimes a problem, edge reduction generally not, but the last layer. So first is orientation. Well, all of these mini non-dominant colors here are supposed to be up. So these are all facing up, so that's good. This is rotated up, so that's as good as well. What I mean by that is you're supposed to have this one facing upwards to match this. And you're supposed to have this facing upwards as well. So this is upside down. This is supposed to be turned upside down to match with this sloping over here. So we have actually parity. We have a situation where 3 are rotated up correctly and 1 is rotated down. So what I'm going to have to do is flip this by using the infamous Red Bull algorithm. So I had to reconfigure it a little bit, but you can see right side up, right side up. This is right side up also. These two just need to be flipped. So what I'm going to do, being very careful to make sure that this is in the front. This is the front face. This is the up face. We'll go ahead and do the Red Bull algorithm to flip these around. So that's going to be 2R, 2B, 2U, L, 2 up, RI, 2 up, R, 2 up, 2F, R, 2F, finish it up with Li, 2B, and 2R. Okay, at the end of the day, what that'll do is that'll flip these in the right direction. So now this is right side up, right side up, right side up, with these two non-dominant colors, and right side up. So now we go through the process of orienting these correctly. So I'm gonna keep doing RU, RIU, R2, RI until at least one of these are right. Ri. Okay, so now we have another kind of parity, and this emerges out of the supercube-ness of this. And that's the fact that, yeah, they're all rotated right, but I've got 2 in and 2 out. Well, that's not something that I would get in a 3x3 either, because it means I have to do one swap. So, as you recall, in the last tutorial that I did, which was the 4x4 supercube, I ran into something similar. This is the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to orient it to where I need 2 opposite each other, 2 in that are opposite, so that I can do a clean flip. It might be easier to visualize if I put this over here. So R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, do it again. U, R, 2U, RI. Okay, so these two are in. I need to do a clean flip of these guys, but I've got to do it to where I don't cause flipping of this. So I'm going to do that variation of the URF algorithm, holding it over here, and that's going to be the longest of the algorithms, but you kind of get an intuitive feel for it. It's the same thing as the crazy 4x4 version 3 that I did last time, and it's going to be slicing through the middle here first. UI, R, FI, U, RI, F. And then we do a U, and then a D, then finish it off with Fi, R, Ui, F, Ri, and Di. And that flipped things cleanly there. So we're good. So we're encountering every kind of parity with this. Now we just have to, now this last part is going to see if my assumption about the centers are correct. Because if it is, one should be in and the rest three should be out. If I see one that's also in, I made a horrible mistake somewhere. So this is out, and this is out. So we didn't. We simply have a situation that's what we would have expected. So we're going to permute the corners around. Turn, 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 and turn. This is in, none of the rest are in. U, R, Ui, Ri. Now notice this algorithm is the same that I did with the centers, and it just happened to come back in. So there you have it. That is your demonstration of the 4x4 dodecahedron and the issues that happen with this. So not only do you have the normal parities that can happen, but you also have the need to figure out what centers go where and what edges go where, as it's not always straightforward. Very fun puzzle. My thanks to Claus Wenicker for bringing this puzzle to life and helping to add to my collection like that. More from him later, and more modifications of higher level puzzles to come as well. Thanks for watching.